Hey, it's Sam Patel. Super excited to talk to you guys today about a lot of conversations all over the internet in regards to med spas, more specifically, the negative comments and the negative media that med spas are getting. I think it's time to address these head on. So let's go through various videos on YouTube and on the media outlets to see what they're saying, and let's have a conversation about it.
Help you look and feel better.
Med spas are surging across the country. They're a $15 billion beauty and wellness business.
Sure are.
Offering treatments like IV hydration therapy with vitamins, advertised to boost energy and ease holiday hangovers, or injections to break down fat, tighten skin, and give a more youthful glow. But now federal regulators are once again warning that getting trendy medical treatments like these could be dangerous.
Unfortunately,
I'm going to stop right there. So federal regulators are making warnings. You know, I don't like talking about politics for obvious reasons, but federal regulators being involved in anything that's cutting them out, or specifically cutting the pharmacies out, are always going to complain. So I'm not surprised that they're trying to regulate something that's causing them to lose money. Just food for thought.
Yeah, I did get this because I went to a spa here.
Their warnings, social media influencer Bia Alma wishes she'd known before getting a mix of vitamin and fat-burning shots at a California med spa.
Of course, social media influencer complaining about getting treatments.
Back in 2021.
How many shots did you get?
I would say I was injected over 100 times.
Walk me through what happened next.
So within 24 hours, I began feeling very sick. As the days progressed,
Where the hell did she go that she got injected 100 times in a visit? No shit that you got sick. This is probably a bootleg med spa that she went to. It's unfortunate. People have to do their research. There's a lot of med spas popping up. I do agree with this so far. However, there's a lot of bad ones popping up too. She clearly went to one that's not properly regulated, that probably doesn't do things the proper way in terms of the administration of medications.
the injection sites turned into these hard little balls.
According to her doctor, Bia got a massive infection caused by bacteria that can be associated with cosmetic procedures involving injections. We reached out to the owner of the med spa where Bia got the injections, but never heard back.
Surprise. Usually a place that gives that sort of style of injections, that has a bacterial infection that's caused by it, clearly the way that they administer injections, probably their facility, everything is terrible, it sounds like. And the fact that they didn't respond for whatever reason is also probably a reason, because that means that they're not doing things right and they know it. This is unfortunate. I feel bad for this influencer so far, but that doesn't mean that one bad example is the entire example of the entire industry. That's a little unfair, and that's why I hate media and news, because they take one incident and blow it up to make it seem like it's a huge deal. It is a huge deal for this patient, but not for everyone in the world of med spas.
Dr. Rashina Bissett-McCain at Baylor says she's seeing more patients like Bia following what they thought were simple beauty procedures.
One of the most common complications that we see typically is infection, usually at the site of the IV placement. But there are med spas that do other things, such as laser treatments, where patients can come in with burns.
While the American Med...
So that's true. There are expected possible side effects, specifically from lasers, that could occur, such as burn. But keep in mind, these are things that are sometimes normal. Sometimes we do have to destroy a little bit of the tissue to help rebuild it. We see this with radiofrequency microneedling. We see this with ablative lasers. We have to actually cause and induce damage for the skin to repair healthier. So sometimes it could be a lack of educating the patient with what they should expect and what's going to happen. And then they're surprised when they go home because they weren't properly counseled. But that doesn't mean that bad things can't happen. Sure, sometimes negative side effects could occur. In this situation, I don't disagree with this physician.
Med Spa Association says most facilities are safe. With no national regulations, oversight has become an issue.
There are states who simply don't have the resources or the time to be looking at the medical spas and ensure.
I agree with this guy so far. We see so many different state invariabilities. There's, as a consultant, I see this all the time. We work with med spas and practices all across the United States, and each state is completely different. Whether it's Texas or Alabama, Mississippi, who are a little bit more conservative, or whether it's the Midwest or California, Florida, every single one of these states has completely different regulations and laws, or the lack of them. So it does become very difficult. I can only imagine on the state level how they go about this. There's such a gray area with no black and no white in understanding what to do and how to regulate it.
Ensuring that they're doing things correctly.
This is at my nursing school graduation.
Oh, I love this one.
That's my dad, Jen.
In July, Haley Hudson's stepmom, Jennifer Cleveland, passed out while getting a prescription-strength electrolyte infusion at a Texas med spa. She was rushed to the hospital and died of sudden cardiac arrest.
That's terrible. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That is a very, very rare, but it happens every now and then. And it sucks. I feel for this family because it's not fair, but there could be a lot of issues that could be occurring here. She could have pre-existing health issues that she should have been evaluated for, or perhaps the IV was not administered properly. It's very difficult to say. I'm sure they did a examination. Maybe we'll get into it, but nonetheless, one example isn't the norm. Just like surgery, a surgery that is there to take out your gallbladder has a very, very, very low percentage of side effects or complications or even death. Does that mean it doesn't occur? No. There's always going to be that random incident. Unfortunately for her, it was with this family member, but doesn't mean that it happens to everyone.
She was so friendly, so opening, so warming. We just didn't have words as a family. It was just
sad.
It was so sudden, so quick.
While the autopsy report was inconclusive, the Texas Medical Board found the spa's medical director failed to properly supervise an unlicensed individual performing intravenous treatments.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with this situation. It's been a lot of conversation, specifically based around this one situation, and it sucks. It's unfortunate that the physician wasn't there to regulate this. It further was administered by someone who shouldn't be administering it, and they had no idea what they were doing. Clearly, there's going to be an issue. It's not that they had the perfect environment and then something happened. They were negligent from the beginning. And this is one example, but it certainly isn't the norm. And that's what I keep kind of going back to, is that I understand it's an issue. It's an important one. And I definitely think that it has to be addressed. But does it have to be blown up all over media and say all med spas are terrible? No. That's like saying if one surgeon messes up, that all surgeons are terrible. It's unfair to say.
Resulting in a patient's death, and it temporarily suspended his license. Attorneys for the spa say there is simply no criminal liability. Experts say if you plan to visit a med spa, always ask who owns and operates the med spa.
Yes, 100% agree. Definitely an important question to ask.
Most states require a physician. What are the credentials and training of the person providing treatment? And is there a licensed medical practitioner on site in case of complications?
All very important questions. It's super important to know the history of the organization, who's there, and what's their skill level. Do your research. It's so easy to just look online, look at the reviews, call, ask them questions. The last thing you want to do is go into a situation or a business where you have no idea who they are and who's regulating or supervising. So ask the questions. Ask who's administering, ask what they're administering, and ask them, hey, who's supervising all this? These are quick questions that they should be able to answer. And if they can't, move on to the next.
Questions for an industry growing at lightning speed, now facing new concerns about patient safety. Erica Edwards, NBC News,
overall,
Huntsville, Texas.
I think that this has a lot of positives to take away from it. Those positives would include what to do and what not to do, specifically for patients, making sure that they investigate properly. Of course, the media, their job is to scare, and I think they did a good job with this video of doing that, unfortunately. But is the context of what they're saying not valid? I think there is a lot of validity to the context. I do think that this massive growing industry of wellness, health, healthcare, and med spas and cosmetics is growing very quickly. And as a result, there's a lot of volume of bad examples growing too. So as the increase of businesses arises, there's going to be more bad ones that arise too. And that makes sense. Now it's a question of what do we do to prevent it? What do we do to have patients educated enough to not go to a place that isn't properly ran. So for that context, I think that there was a lot of positivity. I just wish that they don't make it seem as if all med spas and all wellness studios are terrible, because that is not the case. The higher percentage of them are actually very well ran. It's unfortunately that the growing small percentage is garnering a bad reputation for everyone. But of course, do your due diligence and make sure that you watch all the different things out there and ask the questions. Marketing tips, medical spas case study. Let's see what this video is about.
One industry I'd really like to rip apart is medical spas, because they are popping up like wildfire. And this is where people that are really focused on winning can get ahead. And it's simply through good marketing, good branding, and good positioning.
So far, that's true. There's a lot of different med spas, and the ones that stand out are the ones that do have good marketing and good branding. So I do agree with her there so far.
All of these medical spas more or less offer the same thing. If you're offering other branded services like hydrofacial, Formafacial, Botox, there's really not much variance from spa to spa.
Very true. Everyone's offering the same shit. They have Botox, they have fillers, they have facials. They all have the same stuff. But how do they display it? How do they market it? And further, how do they offer it with the patient experience? That is what makes the most successful business arise from the pack. So let's see what else she has to say about that.
A spa. Assuming these are all like registered estheticians and it's doctor supervised, the risk isn't that huge that you're gonna get third-degree burns on one corner and not on the other corner. And what's crazy—
I'm glad she said that. The risk isn't that large. It's just a matter of who should you go to.
Crazy to me is that none of these medical spas are actually focusing on dollars where it counts. And a big area is websites. Like, these are—
Definitely agree with that. A lot of practices and business owners, specifically physicians or nurse practitioners, they build this beautiful clinic or med spa and they completely neglect digitally what that looks like. When you have such a fierce competition and competitive space like med spas, with them building up on every corner nowadays, it's very important for you to distinguish yourself. How are you going to do that before they even come in? Digitally. You're going to have a great digital presentation specifically on your website. So I definitely agree with her.
These are highly complicated services that I don't need. You have to make me want. And the way that you make me want them is through good marketing. And
definitely, majority of the services in this industry aren't requirements. They're not make or break for your long-term health. They're desires. They're things that you want to pay your own money because you want it for yourself, not because you need it to live. And with that being said, we have to be able to market something because we have to attract someone in. How are we going to market it? Well, there's so many ways. She's touched on the website being a part of it. I definitely agree with that.
And that's what's missing. The medical spas that get ahead on marketing and education and actually making these services desirable is who is going to win. And it's
150%. I couldn't agree anymore. Ones that educate and the ones that actually get ahead, instead of just putting it on their website and hoping for the best, we have to educate. You have to educate on social media. You have to educate on your website. Further, you have to educate during a consultation once they actually come and sit down with you. You can't just sell these things like a commodity, because guess what? All of your competitors are doing exactly that.
It's not enough to just film services. It's not enough to just like have a sale every month, because everybody is fighting on price point. And that is why I think that there's going to be major bankruptcy in this industry, is people have put so much money behind the promise of how much laser can make them, but they're not doing enough to actually differentiate their same laser from the 5 other in their neighborhood or city block.
That's very entertaining to listen to because it's so freaking true. So many businesses go and absorb and purchase and invest in technology and building out beautiful spaces, and they think all the money is just going to come in, but then it doesn't. And a lot of them do go into bankruptcy. Why? Because they neglected the number one thing, the patient experience. I talk about this all the time. They're always so focused on creating opportunities, but they're not actually realizing that the opportunity is your patient, is giving them the most phenomenal comfort and experience with the services that you have that aren't different than anyone else. But what is different is how you provide those services.
block, that they're not going to be able to generate enough sales to sustain their business model because those machines are really expensive.
They are.
So the time now is to invest in your marketing and branding because it's the only way to get ahead. And if you're in this space, more are coming.
You definitely have to invest in your marketing and branding. If you are investing in a device, as the example that she's using, many people invest in devices and then go bankrupt because they can't make the money back. Invest in a device company that provides you with that marketing and branding support. You want a well-known company. You want to partner with a well-known device company, and you want to have support in the marketing arena. And if that device company can bring that marketing support, it's going to help you immensely.
And there are way too many cropping up that as a consumer, I'm no longer brand loyal to a medical spa. Because if you sell a Forma and you sell a Forma and you sell a Forma, I'm just going to go to whoever's selling the cheapest Forma. Like what you're doing isn't proprietary because they all have the same machine. And that's where really the only secret sauce. I get so many questions every day from medical spa owners saying like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I look at their website and it's the same shit. It's these overcomplicated, long-winded, written for SEO websites which
music to my ears. Absolutely. Everyone has the same shit. What isn't the same, or rather what shouldn't be the same, is how we are providing that service. And that's lost because the only way they can experience that is by coming in. But digitally, how on earth would they know that? So yes, you see so many terrible websites and reviews online that aren't taken care of properly or responded to, or the lack of social media engagement. They're just not there digitally. So how are you going to expect your patients or your future customers to distinguish you from all the other competition? They won't. And that's why it's so important to invest in that, because that is the first impression. Before they even come to your door, they're finding out about you digitally. And if your digital presence is non-existent, or if it sucks, there's no way that they're going to distinguish you enough to come into your doors rather than your competitors.
We're important at some point, and SEO still does matter. But when you're all fighting for the same SEO and you're using the same text on your website, when I come to you as a consumer, I don't know who to go to because you're too focused being on the first page, but you're saying the same shit as everybody else. So you need to differentiate and position yourself to being the best person for me, because otherwise it's just price-based, and it's going to be whoever offers me the cheapest price.
Yes. That's the big thing that we see in this industry is everyone shops around for price. And that's actually frightening. It shouldn't be just about price. It should be about the expertise. It should be about who's in that practice or who's in that clinic performing the services, what technology do they have, and the experience and care that's provided with those services. How on earth are you going to be able to describe all of those things if it's not actually displayed digitally in a form of a video, in form of content online? Whatever it may be, we have to display this before they even come in. That's going to distinguish you away from your competition. So consider exactly what this gal is saying with revamping and focusing a lot of attention on your branding and on your marketing, because in this competitive space, we need to differentiate ourselves. And that happens with the first step with marketing and of course with branding. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you have further questions or comments on this entire video or any comments on the examples that we talked about, please comment below and definitely hit that subscribe. We appreciate your support and definitely looking forward to talking to you guys more about other stigmas that this industry has and how we should address it all together.